I think there may be one or two more people coming, but I think they expect us to start on time. If they're coming late, they're expecting us to have already started. So,
We want to meet their expectations.
right. With no further ado, I introduce you to Rabbi Tamima Ikovic, who is going to lead us in session 2 of 4.
Woohoo! Who's hiding behind that face?
Luciano Pavarotti. I had to do a birthday greeting, a posthumous celebrity personalized birthday greeting for my future son-in-law, who is Luciano, not Luciano. So I created a birthday song to the tune of Oklahoma, because try putting Luciano in a parody. Luciano, it's your birthday, happy day to lay. And I wore that.
All righty. Well, thank you for sharing.
Crying.
So without further ado, so here we are, part 2. And let's start by invoking the angels. So what I want to do is teach the nigun and then invite everybody to join in. And then we can make a happy sound. So like listen to it at least a couple times, maybe 3 times, and then chime in, and we can go wild and unmute. Okay, and this is from Psalm 91, which is one of the psalms that is used to call in protection really any time when people are passing, when people have passed, and even in winter when it's cold out. So this is actually, and it's cold out and we don't see the sun a lot. The words are, Ki mal'achav yitzaveh lishmarcha b'chol drachecha, and it's transliterated. And it affirms that angels are appointed to care and watch over you wherever you are, which feels most comforting most of the time. And it goes like this. Ki mal'achav yitzaveh lishmarcha b'chol drachecha. Ki mal'achav yitzaveh lishmarcha b'chol drachecha. Ki mal'achav yitzaveh lishmarcha b'chol drachecha. Unmute if you like. Ki mal'achav yitzaveh lishmarcha b'chol drachecha. 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 And invite the angels in, your angels, the ones that are supporting you through this process. And it's good to acknowledge them. All right, so I thought we'd start with a review of what we did last week. We did an introduction and introduced ourselves. We called in the angels a lot like we just did right now. And we focused on some of the prayers that are just to help somebody transition, somebody that's lingering, and to give them the impetus and the protection to feel safe to jump in. And so 2 of those psalms that we looked at from there were Psalm 91 and the Ana B'Choach. Psalm 23 is also one of them that's said then. And so we looked at that. We spent some time encountering the 7 Lower Sfirot, which is the process of becoming, really starting with water, which is like the prima mater of creation, and moving it through, filters of discipline and balance and staying the course, and beauty and community. And each one is a filter that we can say describes an activity of the infinite moving into the corporeal, the finitude, the 7 Lower Sfirot. And we also looked at the tree of life and spent some time with that. And one thing that I was so happy to share with you that it thrills me each time I look at it is the fact that the tree of life looks a lot like DNA. And so we looked at the Eitz Chaim, and we also looked at pictures of DNA to suggest that the Kabbalists who felt into the tree of life early on were really feeling something that was real, that was manifest. So I want to open and to see if anybody has questions or anything lingering from last class that we want to answer before moving on. Or also, as we go, you're also welcome to put questions in the chat box, and even if we don't get to them in class, I'm happy to follow up afterwards. Maybe Facebook for Kavod and Yichum would be a good place to do this. But if you put the questions in there, I will get back to you someplace for sure. Maybe an email.
Just a quick point. It's Isaac.
Nice.
Thanks for giving me the information, sort of the background of Aaron Barachian. So I got that information, and thanks for sending it to us.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Cantor Bark.
I just wanted to share
Yes?
a wonderful thing that happened. Maybe the next day or so, I had a very old hypnotherapy client, not old in age, but maybe 30 years since she contacted me. Had a lot of anxiety over getting her COVID shot, and I knew she was from, and I recorded the Psalm 91:11 for her, and it really had a lot of power. Really, really calmed her down greatly. So go figure.
She called in her, was it the angel line or was it all of Psalm 91?
No, just the mantra
niggun.
over and over again. I recorded it 7 times.
Beautiful.
And then translated it for her, and it really just boom. That was all she really needed.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Okay. Alrighty. So so I want to kind of start our session today by reviewing the few pages that within the Sefer that we're looking at, because there's so many things that are striking. So I want to point these out to you, some of my favorite bits here. So this is the cover page. It says Sefer Ma'avorya book, and again, what are the things that's so moving about this is that you can see that Berechia, Aaron Berechia, who wrote this book, he was saying he was really holding an intention of doing all these practices contiguously, and you can see it in the way it's put together, right? So I'm just going to show you some of the pages and point out some high points.
Tamima, can I interrupt for a
first of
moment?
this is who's this?
This is David.
Is that David?
If you click on the button, it'll take away the comments section and the table of contents section and make the whole thing a little bigger. If you click on the
right, you told me to. Which button? Button.
It's down.
This one maybe.
It's down in the bottom, just to the left of the
slider. Slider on the bottom right of the screen, below the section where you see the blank.
Oh, is that it?
Yeah,
Yes.
that's
Okay.
Perfect.
Okay, good. Thank you, and thanks for reminding me to do that. I appreciate it. Okay, so it's definitely, this type of work, it's definitely teamwork. Okay, so we saw the first cover page here. So I just want to point out a couple things here. The part that we're looking at is the part right before the person passes, so right before it moves into the Tahara liturgy. And the Tahara liturgy ending with the Hakafut. So just reading these 3 words, these 3 words, Pesukim le'et yitziat haneshama. These are verses for the moment the soul leaves. And to just see that, and to see that it's acknowledged, and it feels so reverential. And there's like a few pages before that talk about how, to share some practices for that process, for the process of being goses. That, I think that's just thrilling to have Pesukim le'et yitziat haneshama. Okay, and so when the verses end, this is like the person's passing, and if we need to have a little bit of rachamim, the im kavanato yelevakesh rachamim, so then start here. And there's this is a beautiful poem. It reminds me, there are Arabic poems that you can't really translate very well, and because it's like beautiful and it rhymes in Arabic, and this is kind of feels to me of that ilk in Hebrew. It's really beautiful and juicy, and I gave a hand. We gave a try of translating it, and it could probably use some more refining because the language can't be duplicated. But it's so beautiful.
Point again, please, where those words
Then
are.
next-
Could you put the cursor exactly where those words are? Where again?
Dalet amcha mishachat. This is the poem.
No, the ones you say at the moment of passing. Could you just?
We
Yeah,
haven't. We're not there. We're not
Oh, I'm
there yet.
sorry.
These
I misunderstood.
okay. Let me explain this again. These are just page titles, and so this page title says verses for the moment that the soul exits, and then there's a few more. Is that Amy that asked, by the way?
That was
Just so
Charna.
I know. Oh, thank you,
That's
Sharna.
Charna.
Okay, got it. Charna, Rabbi Charna. Psukim le'et. So right here, this just defines. Do you see where my cursor is? The page title. When we get to the next page title, it's interesting. They say this is prayers for the time of Rehitzah, and what they call, which would translate literally as prayers for the moment of doing the washing. What they call Rehitzah, they include what we call Rehitzah and the Tahara as in the Sha'at HaRehitzah. So just interesting to see the notation that was used in this Sefer. So then after the passing happens, we talked about this last time. This is where it talks about it being a wonderful segula, a wonderful aspect of merit, like an amulet that brings luck, if someone departs during verses of compassion, besuke de rachame, or through murmurings of Torah. So it's mentioned here too, just reminding, it's like somebody's passing, you don't have to stop studying. And as a matter of fact, there's merit and juice that comes through, and holding that as a practice. So certainly reciting Psalms around a bedside is something that was envisioned by the author of this Sefer. Right, and then this next little section is, this is a book, this is Minchat Aaron. They have these verses that were put together to help someone really know what time of day it was, whether they're doing Shachrit, Mincha, or Mariv, which are the three prayer services in Jewish practice. And then, I love that. We talked about this last time too, but this always brings you so much joy to see it in writing. Because I remember being a little kid and when someone's sick, you get out of their room, you don't bother with them. And here it's like, well, the custom to leave the room, it comes right here. When somebody's dying, it's really not to cause stress by someone getting upset and screaming because somebody's dying. No, don't go. That's not necessary. But what's helpful is to be present. And so they remind you right here, right? So you can see where that is. And then it's like saying Sadu Kadim, God gives, Hashem Natan, Hashem Lakach, Yehi Shem Adonai Mevarach. God gives, God takes, bless God. What do we do when somebody dies? So the sequencing, I think, is really, really interesting. And then they talk about putting the meta on the maid or the meta on the floor. And let's see.
Remind us
Okay.
Why did they put the mate on the floor? Remind us. And also,
Um,
some of us are not so good
who-
just keep that in mind.
and right, I'm just giving you a brief overview, and then we're going to look more in detail. But just to get a sense of the totality, what I want you to see is how first of the compassionate bits and how juxtaposed these different pieces are on one another. So it's not like there's a section and, now the person that's doing Tahara does the Tahara. It's like, it really gives the sense that, it was like one activity. And so that's why I'm showing it to you. I don't expect you to get the Hebrew. I'm just reminding you of the bits that we studied last week. And who was that I'm speaking to? So I'd like to know. If you'd say your names when you ask a question.
Yeah, good. It was Evie.
Edie?
Yeah, that was reminding you that
Okay.
some of us weren't so good on Hebrew. And that thing about putting the body on the floor is so familiar all of a sudden. But can you say anything about that? I know it might not be important right now, but
Well, it's it was just, I think the floor is like heat rises. I think it's really this simple, or an aspect of it, heat rises. So you want to keep the body cool, especially in the times where they didn't have refrigeration. It's a practical aspect too, so the body wouldn't turn. So at least that's one reason for it. I mean, you could also, if I think about it energetically, the idea of putting the body on the floor, kind of returning it to earth where it's going to be buried, there's a very grounding, not to be, tongue in cheek, but really a really grounding aspect of like, going back, Adam, human, goes back to Adamah, the earth. And there's like I think about the Tahara room in Boulder, for example. And, and like the floor where Reb Zalman, I understand, was placed, and seeing him there, it had that, it wasn't like linoleum. It has a different kind of feel to it. And so, but there's also a practical aspect of keeping the body as fresh as possible.
I have a question too.
Okay, and who's speaking?
This is Reza. Reza.
Okay, Reza.
Yeah, so when we put the body on the floor, is there any specific direction that we should follow that direction? For example, toward Yerushalayim, toward east, or is there anything?
You know what? I didn't see anything like that here. These are just like bylines. And but that's really a good question. I wouldn't be surprised if there was something written in some of the finer print about that. I'm trying to think in the Tahara room in Boulder, what side was Reb Zalman in? Was it east where they placed the body?
that's, but I don't think it had, and Charna might have some answer, but I think we did it where it was convenient because it was such a skinny room. I think.
It is a skinny room.
Yeah,
Are you talking about Tahara or Shmira?
Oh, good.
Yeah, the Shmira, he was on a low bed on the east wall, in a shroud, no aron.
Yeah.
Beautiful. So the east wall is what was done there. So there's something very potent about the east being the side of Tiferet, the direction that Jews focus when they pray in general, which is towards Jerusalem, also towards the sunrise for the next day, which seems significant also, I dare say.
Yeah,
and go ahead.
To the east.
Pardon?
His head was not pointing to the east.
No, he was against the east wall. His head was pointing to the north. Wait.
Okay.
I'm
against the east
no,
wall.
Actually, his head was at the south. His feet were at the north. And
okay. So that's even more beautiful, because the south is Chesed, the north is Gvura, and the east is Tiferet in the Tree of Life, which we'll focus on a little bit more. But anyway, then right after we put the body on the floor, this is the Hamol prayer that a lot of you that do Tahara are familiar with, or it's very, I'm sure it's very close. And basically it's asking for forgiveness for the person, on behalf of the person that is deceased. In a way, it's like we're trying to fill in, any negativity. We're trying to erase the negativity and speaking on their behalf. Now there's mechila that a lot of people do beforehand, but it's not in the sefer. But also, I definitely, and it doesn't mean it's not good. It's just not in the sefer. I think it's important to say, like, I really hope I do the right respect for you. Okay. Oh yeah, I wanted to, and one more thing I wanted to mention here. This is a reference, and out of this reference, we're going to spend some time with the reference in here. It says in chapter 11, section 3, there is an order of Rehitzah, like a practice of how to do the washing of the deceased, and more specifically in each and every limb. And we're going to spend some time with that. But so each one of these itty bitty comments is it's just like it's like a portal to like all this other I want to say information, but really enlightened, juicy practices. And it's really a portal to more light, I will say that, because that's really how it feels. And just to show you just what we're working with. Okay, and now so that's the end of the Hamol, which is the asking for mercy on behalf of the deceased. And then it goes right into the Rosho Ketem Paz, which is the washing the body. And this is the piece that's done for men by men, because it's talking about a man's body. And of course we know that Sefer Ma'avar book, and I want to say like all the liturgy until maybe the last 50 years has been written to be said by men. Period. That's just, the patriarchy. It's the way society has been, and we're catching up, finding more balance these days. And part of my work here is to invite other aspects. So what I will say here, there was something here I wanted to point out. What they talk about here is it's really important to start from the head. You start washing with the head. And so you wash from the head to, down. But the Brechia and the Zohar, so it's not just Aron Brechia, talks about the importance of the head and the way the hair is connected up to different levels of heaven. And they break it down. Brechia breaks it down here, referencing the Zohar. And with God's help, we'll have some time to look at that today. So this is Rosho Ketem Paz. So what I want to point out is that Brechia's example starts with the head. And hopefully we'll have some time to look at that a little bit later. And then after that, so after the Rehitzah is done, and the body is cleaned, and so then you look at the body, and it's the Vaya'an V'yomer is said there. And then what we call the Tahara begins. And so what he says here is when you start with the head, you put a little bit of water on the head, and you start, and so this verse is said, Mayan Ganim. And it's a little different than what people usually do, which is like the water wells. And then when you get into the middle of the Tahara, and it's actually, it says to say this, Vayumar Pasuk Gimel Pamim, we say it 3 times. And it's Mikvah Yisrael Moshiach, which is different than what we see in other practices. I think Brechia really thought that people understood what Mikvah Yisrael is, because it's a reference, and we'll spend more time on it next week, because that's our focus next week. But it's a reference to Yom Kippur from Masechet Yoma that talks about Mikvah Yisrael Yud He Vav He, meaning God who is, was, and will be, is the big immersion of Yisrael. And it talks about on the day of Yom Kippur, time, if you will, I'm quoting Reb Zalman, but also Shnei Luchot HaBrit, time becomes God. And so all there is God in Yom Kippur. So like by definition, it's an immersion into the divine, which happens every Yom Kippur. So, and one could say that Yom Kippur is also the active practice of dying. We say, we do vitui 5 times in the day. We're wearing white, we're not eating. So it's kind of embodying that. So it's interesting and important for the Kavanah to link that back to the Day of Atonement, the day of fasting, and the day that we for tshuva, right? To return to source, as it were.
Rabbi, can I ask a question?
Yes.
Yes, Jonathan.
Yes, who's speaking?
Rabbi Jonathan.
Okay.
So is there a possibility the beginning of the Rosh and the pouring has some messianic associations or alliterations, that there's Meshichut, just like you have in Zohar with the spreading of the spherotic oil through Rashbi. So we were all, when we die in that moment, there's some messianic allusion to the spreading of this through the sphirot of the oil or the water. I'm not sure what this immersion is. You're immersing in God. It's all time. It's all immersion. Do you have some thoughts on allusion to messianic status for the dead? I'm going out on a limb.
Well,
I'm just wondering where we get to that. What do you think? Rabbi Tamima. Hello.
She's thinking.
She's thinking. It's a long.
Or she's thinking or she's frozen.
I think she's frozen.
Frozen in thinking.
She frozen her thoughts.
Frozen, as it were, Sharna.
It was
Well,
a very
okay.
good question.
We should flip it around. What's your best guess?
My guess, well, I love to look at Zohar, like a lot of us, in terms of Messiah. Hello, Tamima. We miss you, Tamima. Where are you? Rabbi Tamima.
I think we had to disconnect so that
Oh,
you
Gewalt.
could-
So I was posing the question whether in Tahara there is some aspect of messianism, that bringing Mashiach, right? When we pour the water over the deceased, because the Zohar talks about us getting the oil from the head, the erech anpin, to the beard. So think kabbalistically, think messianic.
I'll tell you what popped into my head around this, because that oil, that Mashiach, that anointing
Anointing
is
oil
to put you into a state, but this water is the purification to bring you to Olam Haba.
Right.
So it's like when the soul returns to that place of pure awareness, I suppose that you could call that the enlightened state.
Nice. Yeah, that's kind of where I was thinking. Some state of enlightenment upon death, and this pouring out of messianic oil or awareness. Good. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'd have to look at Berechia and also these texts to know more.
Okay, so I'm trying to bring this back to here. I bet this will work.
You've crossed over.
I did cross, and I came back.
And you
Kiv Yachol.
Back from the other side.
Kiv Yachol. You came back. To me, we conjured you up again. Thank God.
Cantor Mark, did you want to jump into the conversation?
I was just going to ask for a report from the other side, but no.
Break on through.
Right.
So, and that's really our discussion for this. That's really our discussion for next time. So I look forward to that more. Then, it's really short. These are all a bunch of different, these are the different herbs that are mentioned here. And there's also a piece that we could talk about that, it's like another portal into the light that talks about the incense practice. So that's the mikveh, which is the tahara. And then this is after you clothe the person, you say the sosasis. And then after you cover him or her in the aron, it's hine mitato, which a lot of people are familiar with. And if you're not, well, maybe you will be in the future. And miata har gadol, and when you pick up the beer or the casket, it's like you carrying the ark. Vahi bin soa ha'aron. Here we are. We're carrying the ark, which is like the holy ark in there. And then we start moving. Okay, this is one of my favorite verses ever. This is from Isaiah. Seraphim umdim mima'alo, sheish knafayim le'echad, bishtayim yechaseb panav, ubishtayim yechaseb raglav, ubishtayim ye'ofef. So the seraphim, which are the fiery angels according to Maimonides, the galaxies, they're standing above him. Each one of them has six wings. 6 wings for each one. With 2, they cover their face. With 2, they cover their legs. And with 2, they fly. So we're invoking angels and, invite our seraphim friends in here. And then it moves to the Seder HaHakafot, which will be our last class. The 7 sacred circles. So that's like an overview, but I also there's so much in there, and it's just 4 pages, and it's like he doesn't miss a beat. So that's also, I think that's really important. Okay, so we're going to shift the scene a little bit here and talk a little bit about Jewish meditation, and I'm going to invite you to close your eyes, and I want to take you through a meditation.
Rabbi, it's Doug.
Guided. Yes.
What did you mean?
Yes, Doug.
And he doesn't miss a beat. I didn't connect the beats or something.
What I mean. Okay, thank you for asking. It's just that it's like, so in our Western society, here we don't even need to look at this anymore. I can explain it. In our Western society, so often, the doctors are here and that the healing team is here. And personally for me, my mother passed away, which is over 30 years ago, of blessed memory. One day I walked in the hospital and she was there breathing, alive. They were tending to her. They were giving her machines, making sure everything that was working. And then the next day I get a call and that she passed away. And I went back to that same room and it was empty. The healing people were gone, and definitely different people were the death people. There was no continuity. And that's a problem. That's a big loss. There's a lot to be said for being present around somebody who's passing, as we talked about on the previous pages there. And to be the gentle, loving support. If you believe in souls, and I think about half the people that do Torah believe in that, according to David, there's a certain tenderness at that time of transition. And so some thoughts have it to be present, to be a comfort to the soul as it's getting reoriented to this new reality. So it's kinder to the soul. Does that answer your question? Oh, I can't hear you, Doug. It's unmute.
This is Evie. I want to make sure I'm understanding this slide. Are you suggesting that?
Oh, this is not, I'm not talking about this slide yet. So we haven't gotten to that slide
you
yet.
didn't talk about. Oh, by the way.
No, so we're talking about this.
The thing you're talking about how nice it is to be present during the time of actual death. We need to comfort those people who feel guilty that they left the room. And I want to also believe that, especially when you reminded me of my mother's death, that I had just left, gone to my little apartment near her, and got the call, and I was back there in 10 or 15 minutes. I'd like to also believe that time period was also okay to be with her. So anytime we want to.
Yeah, well, some people want to be alone. My mother wanted to be alone, no doubt. It was just she slipped out when nobody was around, so everybody's different, and different souls will have different needs and will act differently.
No, I totally agree with that, but I'm going to be careful about that.
Thank you for reminding the mention about, so my intention was really to give permission. And this group probably doesn't need permission. We're over it already, really, to be present in somebody's passing. I think we're probably clear about that. But, and I'd like that to be, it's growing more and more mainstream. May it be so. Okay, so now Jewish meditation. So the most common Jewish meditation, I dare say, is prayer. And this is actually a piece that I have from the prayer book that I compiled and published. And basically what it shows is, you moving up, these are 4 worlds. We can just say this axis represents being more spiritual, the higher you go, more earthly, the lower you go. And of course, what we want to do here is bring spirit into earth. That is the purpose of spiritual practice, I dare say. So we move up, and actually these are prayer services that are done, in Jewish prayer regularly. So like you kind of start with the Osiyah, like in the morning for the morning prayers. We wake up, we do, oh, thank you, God, I can go to the bathroom. That works really well. I can breathe, and it's really like more about the body, the waking up prayers. And then the next level of prayers are the emotional. They're the verses of singing. So which the first one will activate like your reptilian brain, and the second aspect will activate your emotional brain, the limbic brain, which is Psuke de Zimra, verses, singing verses. And like when we sing together and we become a group, there is a unification, this achdut that just tends to happen organically, and we feel good, we feel happy, we feel connected. Then the next part of the davening would be Shema and her prayers, where we acknowledge the unity of all things. So then moving into an intellectual zone. And so that's the neocortex in our brain. So after that's all warmed up, then we go to the realm of spirit, Atzilut. And that's the Amida, the private prayer. And really that's the time to be with spirit. But the point is, some traditions will stay and just this is the purpose, just to climb the mountain. But no, Jewish practice is different in that way, because our job is we climb the mountain and then we dismount consciously, and we end up just in a little higher state than when we ended. We started, right? So the reason we climb the mountain is because we're bringing the goodies back for our day-to-day life. So with that in mind, what I'd like to do, should I give you some more background, is I'm going to do a Tree of Life meditation. I'll just show you pictures here. And I want to invite you, we're going to climb up the Tree of Life, just like this. We're going to go up the center line, and we're going to do this with sounding, because each of the sefirot have a sound. And I'm going to invite you, so it's the microcosm and the macrocosm. We're each a microcosm, right? A little fractal of the divine presence, but Tselem Elohim, we're all created in the divine image of the macrocosm that is everything, that surrounds everything. So we're going to move up consciously, and then we're going to bring the Shefa in through the Eitz Chaim. And don't worry about how you're going to do it. You're just, I'm going to lead you, and bring the energy in, so that with God's help, we end up a little bit of a higher state of awareness when we started. Okay? Okay. So I want to invite you to close your eyes and get into a very comfortable seat. You may want to put your shoulders on top of your hips. Find a place that feels comfortable and your heart is open. Feel your body in your chair. Let it rest in. And feel your pelvis on the ground, your sit bones, your tailbone on your chair and whatever you're sitting on. That is Yesod, foundation, community, intimacy. And the sound with Yesod is an oo sound. So I'm going to model the sound once, and then I invite you to join me in it. We'll do it 3 times, and then we'll pause. And then after we make the sound, notice what's changed. Notice what's different. And we're going to move up. Okay, so it goes like this. Yesod, foundation. Ooh. Join me. Ooh. Open attention. Notice what changed, and if you want to move, your body wants to move, allow it. Bring your awareness back to your spine and let it move up your spine, slowly and gently, bringing blessing, bringing light as it moves up to the back of your solar plexus. Tiferet, or right here on your body, but in your solar plexus. Tiferet, beauty, balance, harmony. The sound is an O sound. Open attention. Bring your awareness back to your spine. Let it move up your spine. Like imagine liquid honey. And let it fill your spine. And then bring awareness to your head and imagine light growing on your head like lichen. Just growing gently, beautifully, illuminating. And let it cover your head completely. Bring your awareness to the tippy top of your head and imagine a little pinprick on top. And this pinprick on top is expanding and getting bigger. Imagine it to be the size of maybe a small kippah, ready to receive. And imagine the light entering that space. Keter, crown. The sound for crown is keter, is an ah sound. It's a kamatz, so your tongue retouches the roof of your mouth. So join me in 3 ahs with the tongue at the roof of the mouth. Keter, crown. Allow blessing to flow in. Imagine it through your head. See if you feel it moving through your spine. Maybe it gets to your feet. Now bring your awareness to the right temple of your brain. That's Chokhmah, the seat of wisdom, divine wisdom. The sound is an ah sound. It's a patach, no tongue at the roof of the mouth. And so as we're doing this, we're inviting the blessing that came in, that's coming in, to be blessed by the various stations. Chokhmah, divine wisdom, divine Father. Open attention. Pay attention. Bring your awareness to the left side of your head. That is Bina, Heavenly Mother, divine understanding. Bina is the place of the first discernment. Keter is the connection to the infinite, as it were, kivyachol. Chachma, as it were, is like a storage tank for the divine light. Bina allows the light to move or holds it back depending on what's needed. Heavenly Mother. She nurses the children below. The sound for Bina, the vowel is Sere. So join me in 3 A's for Bina. A. Open attention. Allow any movement. Maybe you'll feel waves. Now we move to the 7 lower sefirot. The right arm, the right shoulder, the seat of chesed. The sound is a segol, which is an eh sound. It looks like 3 dots, kind of like an arrow pointing down the direction of the flow manifesting. Join me in 3 A's. Open attention. Allow any movement. The left shoulder, the seat of Gevura, boundaries, discipline. Chesed is water, and Gevura is the container that catches the water and lets us make it useful. Without the container, it's not useful. The sound of Gevura, the shva, it's the stop sign. So when we work with this Gevura, let's just listen to the sound of no sound. Gevura, your left arm. Open attention. Bring your awareness to the solar plexus, the heart center, the seat of Tiferet, balance and harmony and beauty. Join me in 3 O's to toggle Tiferet. Open attention. Bring your awareness to your right hip and your right leg, the seat of Netzach, victory, tenacity, staying the course, making it happen. The sound is a chirik, E. Open attention. The left leg, the seat of Hod, gratitude, humility. Hod is the way of the priestess and the prophet. Hod pauses and waits for an impetus in which to act, often using energy that has been provided. The sound for hood is a modulated oo. Ooh, ooh, ooh. So that's an example of when. So we'll do that 3 times. Ooh, 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 ooh. Open attention. Bring your awareness back to Yesod, your sit bones, your tailbone, your pelvis, the place of intimacy, procreation, and join me in 3 oohs, like this. Ooh, 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 ooh. Open attention. Now bring your awareness to the field that we're sitting in, the space that's filled with, well, that's really defined by the space-time continuum the Holy Lunar Blessing put in for us. The Earth orbiting on her axis 24 hours a day. The Moon orbiting the Earth 29.25 days, something like that, a month. So that's a wave. The 24 hours a day is a wave. It impacts the space in which we live. And the Earth orbiting around Sun is also another wave that sets up Earth's unique space-time continuum in which we dwell. And the planets, and the astrology, the constellations of the zodiac, and even more. It all impacts the field, as does our holy work. And when you're ready, open your eyes and we'll do a brief check-in, and I've got some more goodies I want to share with you.
I found the sounds quite amazing. They're so discordant, as opposed to the melodious, Buddhist calming sounds. But I kept thinking, particularly in the early ones, of ship foghorns and warning of danger and telling you to see, to watch, to see beyond even. So it was really challenging to engage, but then as I heard the foghorns, then that helped me.
Nice, thank you.
Just
Yeah,
one
these vowel sounds are also they're used often in classical Kabbalah prayer books. Just so you know, it's part of the tradition. And there are ways that in prayer books that these different sefirot are recognized and referenced, and sometimes meditated on, like what we did here.
So I had a question. This is Reza talking. You hearing me?
Yes, I hear you. Hi, Reza. There you are.
So Shekhinah has no sound. And how do we bind
No, well,
finally Shekhinah with other Sephiroths as well when we finishing meditation?
So Shekhinah has no sound of her own, but she has all the sounds that we just did because she is the great receiver. So whatever we did now, when we feel it in the, when I talk about feeling the local field, like what shifted here, that's an aspect of Shekhinah presence.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So I have a question. This is Holly Blue. In the Hod sound, the one you said is modulated. So we have like three blasts in a sense for each one. Do you have a sense of where the stopping comes from? I was experimenting with if I stop it with my throat or with my breath, or are there any instructions on how to stop and start the breath or the sound?
And actually, the starting and stopping the breath for Hood, first of all, it makes sense, and also Reb Zalman, when I asked him how to work with it, because there's a kibbutz and the shuruk, they make the oo sound. One is the center line, which is yesod, and so I asked him why. Well, they got to be different because they're different sfirot, and so it was a suggestion to modulate it. So this modulation is actually something that I really like playing with. I think it's something that there's space there to make it your own and see what comes through at different times. It's very feminine. I mean, in the sense of the moon, like the moon gets full, the moon doesn't get full. So that's really, I think it's up to us to figure that out. And I don't think it's the same every time. I think we have to model something so we can do the practice together. But like when I work by myself, I'm pretty creative.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, Ken or Mark?
I found the sounds rather profound. That was remarkable. I've done some meditation practices where I raised tones up from the base of my spine to the top of my head and raised the pitch. This was much different. It felt like anchoring each one of the spherot and really becoming very granular about connecting to it. Also done a lot of Feldenkrais work on myself for physical therapy, and I can definitely see moving this into my practice. I don't, and that's as articulate as I can possibly get. It was a profound sense of shift.
Baruch Hashem. There's something very potent about the prelingual sounds. It's not really it's not a thought. It's just the sound in its own purity. Rabbi Sharna.
I meant to say I do a lot of Neo-Reichian voice work, and that stuff is very primitive and it just comes impulsively. But to have a container that connects to this much wiser sense, it's quite profound. I mean, I can see starting in the individual at work and then going into this much more, I guess, containerized spiritual discipline.
Well, also one of the things I wanted to point out, and what I hope we get from this, and maybe we'll do this again, is that when somebody's on the Tahara table, they have also these references, and these are invitations to bring blessing in this particular way. So that's it's a wonderful practice that I do pretty often, but also for the work that we do here. How else? This really helps. This is how I remember where what is, and it's like my microcosm of the divine macrocosm. And now, my invitation to you is to implant it on your own beings.
So I have a kind of a method question and an application question. Do we have time, or shall I hold it?
Yeah. Well, we have
since we
quite
are
a bit more that I'd like to.
All right.
Yeah, why don't you put it if you'd like? I'd invite you to put that in the chat, and then if I can get the questions after, we can follow up and maybe even do a group. So, but I think I need to, there's a few more things I want to share that are pretty exciting. So thank you for posing the question that way, Rabbi Sharna. Why do I have two? Okay, this is where we were. Okay, so this is the tree of life. We looked at these before. Are you getting, because I have your pictures kind of superimposed, but you don't see your videos here. So I'm hoping you see two Eitz Chaims, the masculine version and the feminine version. And the masculine version is the linear head to toe, which is what we were just working with. And the feminine version is referenced as taking a if you want to do it in the body, it's like a cross section with the different kinds of tissue. Like, this might be, the center line might be bone, cartilage, and water, which is chesed, the presence or absence of water is what differentiates the different types of tissue. So, Rabbi Sharna, would you start reading this for us, please?
Absolutely, if you make it bigger.
Oh, I don't know if I can make it bigger. Oops,
Okay, go back.
That went away.
That's really hard.
Okay, or not.
Okay, let me give it
maybe
a try. Let me give it a try. The Eitz Chaim, tree of life, models God becoming manifest into life. Ein to yesh, no thing to things. It represents the foundational, dynamic, and repeating substructure of creation. The Eitz Chaim holds space for the heavenly hosts on high, as well as humans on earth. It is useful to translate it onto life's events and the physical body, providing personal awareness of divine attributes as they unfold day to day.
Okay,
There
thanks.
are two
So
methods.
I want to pause right here. One of the ways to reference it also during the week, as we talked about last week, and really any of the series of 7 is just Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Sunday being a day of chesed and chesed being, so I just want to reiterate that. It's so simple and true, it's profound. Monday is Gvura Day. I mean, that's the experience. And I love that Wednesday is the day associated with Netzach, and that's Hump Day. And it's just like organic and true. Okay, thank you. Would you go on, please?
There are two methods of modeling that are both always present and always true. The Egul circular model and the Yasher linear model. Yasher represents a masculine punctive transmission and reception. I don't know what punctive means.
So I'm quoting Reb Zalman there. It's like in and out. Punctive, like puncture.
Thank you. Okay, Egul is a feminine durative model of transmission and reception. Each of the sphirot contain all 10 of the sphirot within it. Those 10 inner sphirot contain each of the sphirot. It is a holographic image that goes on without end. It models the interface between the finite world and the infinite source.
So I'm going to pause and say, I think this is when I talked to Daniel Matt about this, he says that what he's seen in Kabbalah is up to 3 levels, but not more than that. So this may be my chiddush, but also it seems it just seems really clear to me that this would be a model of an interface between the finite and the infinite, because the infinite fitting into, I want to say, containers, if you will, to become manifest and so creation can exist, which is a really amazing feat, right?
I had always thought that, since this was, I've seen the circular model before. I've also seen that linear model that's like 10 circles within a pod, which I thought was the masculine. And I had always thought that the Lurianic conception was that the tree we see here on the right is the circular and the linear combined. I'm surprised to hear it called the masculine. Yet,
so it was actually in Lurianic Kabbalah. It was pre-Eitz Chaim that I'm quoting here, that says that Chaim Vital says that Isaac Luria says that they're both always present and they're always true, and so that I'm clear about.
Thank you.
And if you have other models you want to show, and I'm happy to talk with you about it, we can, see what you're looking at. That would be useful.
I would love to do that offline. I think you'd be intrigued. So each sphera points to a divine attribute, and so offers opportunity to tune the earthly nature into resonance with divine nature. The right and left sides represent balance. Yosher, the right side, models chesed, unbounded grace. A classic example is water flowing. Water is a core element for life, like dew on flowers in the morning sun or rain showers. Too much water or grace can devastate, like the waters from a hurricane. Temperance is needed. Boundaries must be set to support life. Gevura, discipline, the left side, sets limits. It is fire that modulates grace. Left unchecked, it can dry out and devastate. Its job is to direct Hesed to support for balance and compassion. That is, giving what can be received and receiving what is given. Chesed, like water, must be received and directed, not wasted or spilled, to be useful. Tiferet, air, represents centered, sustainable nourishment to flow into Malchut, the physical world, to draw blessing into our world and lives.
May it be so. Thank you. So these are to balance. The idea is to have the flow move into Malchut and into Shechina, which is a euphemism for Malchut, to be present, be felt, to impact our world. May it be so. And this is just another configuration of this. So what are the things that was, I'm going to have to move a little bit quick here, but one of the things that's really interesting is like this picture here with the tree. When I first saw it, it was a tree of life and the human body. Now it's somebody on a Tahara table. And it's just, you can see the meta, and these are invitations to acknowledge the beauty, the perfection of the divine image that is upon the human body. And so I'm really liking this picture these days. And anyhow, you each got a copy of this. This is what I call a classical Kabbalah connectivity. And it's a reference sheet of the 10 Sfirot, divine names associated to each Sfira. And really by meditating on these different aspects, it can help you enter into it, understand or experience it. Also, I'm going to point out here that the 7 lower Sfirot, actually the 6 Sfirot of this is the Yetzirah realm, which is the Vav of Yud Hey Vav Hey. They have the directions. So like when we shake a lulav when we're facing east. So this is how the Sparties do this in this direction. So you're facing east, you go south, north, east, up, down, west for shaking the lulav, and really blessing the 6 directions of our space-time continuum, which is part of what we do on Sukkot. Okay, so now what I'd like to do, this is like building up to the divine body in Sefer Ma'avor, from Sefer Ma'avor book. And so one of the things that's really beautiful about this is that it's not always clear, are we talking about the divine body? Are we talking about the Meta or the Meta? And in a way, it doesn't really matter. And that beautiful ambivalence is, well, it's delicious. And he goes on and on about the hair, which is also pretty exciting. So I'm just going to work this with you. This is chapter 11, and it was one of the footnotes in the other piece that I saw you that referenced me there. It says, Seder Rehitzah Tamet the Nativei Tza'ed. So this is the practice of washing the deceased, and this is actually Rehitzah washing, to really wash the body before doing the tahara, which is the final mikveh, as it were. So first, what do? You wash the hair on the heads. And okay, so the thing about Seirot on the Rosh, the word Sa'ara means hair. It also means Sha'ar is a gate, and Sha'ara is also imagination. So there is something really delicious and relevant that's being transmitted, by means of the hair. Maybe the hair is a gate to the heavens and earth, which we might think that more when we read a little bit onward. Ki sarot adam ramzim lahamshechut, because the hairs of a person, the human hair, alludes to lahamshich is continuity, continuity. כמו שלמעלה בסוד שיער הראש מתאחדים בהם עליונים ותחתונים. Because that up above in the secret of the hair on the head, and I will say for those of us that don't have hair, it's also the hair follicles that we hold with us also. It's like the roots. Through the hair on the head, the uppers and the lowers are unified through them.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think this is I think this is some of the most interesting stuff. And then he goes in and he starts charting Zohar. Mari de Marin, Mari de Kashot, Mari de Mikla, Mari de Biba, Mari de Lila, Mari de Dina, Mari de Rachme, Vitame Oraita, Viraz Oraita, Udechin Misabin Kula, Nikrae Sa'ar. So years ago, remember Game of Thrones? A lot of us probably do. I was like sitting with this and trying to understand what was meant. And then there was like the king's table. It was the new king. It was the last episode of it. And there was all this master of accounting and master of transportation and the cabinet officer of transportation. And really all the different people, beings, entities that are sitting at the sovereign's table in order to keep things going. So this is like that. So master of qualities, master of truth, master of balance, master, Dabiba, of howling, master of wailing, master of judgment, Dina, master of maternal tenderness, and tastes of Torah and hints of Torah. And together, they are all joined together. And they're called sha'arei. They're called hairs, or they're called gates, or they're called, imagination. But it's got that, it's really hinting at the hair and more of the allusions, the nuance.
One thing, can I add it to
Sure,
the
Rosa.
story? Yeah, and it also literally goes and means like song and poem and feeling and hair all together. They have the same roots of the sex.
Well, shear's different though. Shear is shin yud resh, so I think that's a different word.
Oh.
So, but it sounds alike because like the ayin it should be sha'ar, that guttural to say it's sa'arot, harush, and so you're probably not hearing the ayin, and I'll try to pronounce it better. Ki Minyan Haserot Harosh Hem Aleph Alfei Ravot V'Sheva Alafim V'Chamesh Me'ot Sa'arot. So the number of hairs on the head, and they are, I love this, 1,000 squared and 7,500. So what's 1,000 squares? That's a million squared. That's 12 zeros. I'm pretty sure that's a trillion. And 7,500 hairs on the head, according to the Zohar. Yishtabach Shemo HaKolol Kama Aleph Alafim Alamot Ein Tachlit V'Nispar. And so bless the name of God that integrates so many thousands of thousand worlds beyond which can be counted. Bekulam Ganuzim V'Nelamim L'Sha'ashu'o. And they are all hidden, and secretive for God's delight. Ve'ein mi she'adam ela hu ba'atzmo ha'atzilam l'kiyum hanimtza'ot. And there is no one except for God alone that knows these. And there's no one except for God alone who made these emanate, who caused these to emanate in order to sustain creation, the manifestations. V'derech klal, and in general, hem aleph alfei ribaot katzot. They're basically 1,000 squared, which is 1 and 12 zeros. Ubichol kotz arba. I need to move this because there you are. And in each and every edge, which like root, there are 410 threads, like the number of kadosh, right? Kadosh is kuf, 100. Shin, that's another 300, that's 400. And Dalet is 4, and Vav is 6. So that is 410 threads in each and every hair. So like, you remember Avatar? I mean, this is like exactly what James Cameron was depicting when they plugged into the trees. Ubichol Nima, in each and every thread, oh, go ahead.
I just want to stop you there and say this kind of detail about hair is found in the Sikh tradition, because they make a big deal about the hair as a spiritual antenna. So they go into detail in the Sikh texts about the hair with this kind of depth, mystical depth. It's amazing.
Interesting. Yeah, and so do we. Who knew, right?
Who knew?
I love this. So there's 400 and thread, let's say 410, there's kadosh, and in each and every root strand, there's 410 threads, and in each one of these threads, there is another 410 world. So you got the threads, and each of these threads of the 410 threads has another 410 worlds. Ubichol olam, and in all the world, sheva me'ot ve'esrin ibor, and in each world, in each of these olamot, there are 720 like pathways that cross over. So what is 720? 72 is the gematria for chesed. So it's all chesed, which is grace. It's like God's love, God's light flowing in graciously. So it's all couched in chesed. A chesed times 10. The sheva me'ah, and 700 of these 720 go to the 7 lower sfirot, which is Zeranpin, which goes to the lower 7 sfirot. They just said, which would be here, and then that's 700 of the 720, and then what they're going to say is the 20 uppers, the 20 that are left, go to the upper sfirot. So like we are, according to this, it's a model of being connected to source at each and every moment. Whoops, come back.
Well, those, this is Doug, those seem so analogous to the anthropomorphic measurements of God and cubits of being so beyond the imagination. They're so huge as to be unimaginable. There's such infinity and such a finite thing as our hair.
Right? Absolutely. It's awesome. And I don't know, it's like makes you think about the hair differently. And so I will also share that one of the times I did a tahara, I wasn't the Rosh. I was just, I was going to do I did her funeral. It was somebody that I knew, a Holocaust survivor. And this team did not want to wash hair. And they didn't want, and I asked them and I talked about it. And, it was a different perspective than some of us have maybe. And they didn't want to wash your hair and they didn't. So I was really, this is for Betty Daniel, Aleha Hashalom, whose hair we did not get to wash. And God willing, many more people will have their hair washed. And for the final hair washing. The other thing that I find really interesting about washing the hair is that the continence seems to change after the hair washing. I don't know if anybody else has noticed that, but This
is Evie.
Go on, Evie?
Why would somebody object to washing the hair? Were they trying to hurry?
It's like, some people do it for income. And they show up, and which is different than the Tahara team that you're a part of. So lots of different ways. And so I just want to give this up to Betty Daniel, because I wish we could have washed her hair, but they didn't want to take the time to do it. And it's like, that's just not what they did. So it wasn't really in their bag of tricks, as it were. So now I want to tell everybody about the importance of it, to really honor honor the deceased.
Rabbi Holly Blue here. I got a comment. It's one of the things I really love to do is grooming the hair in a tahara. But reading this, it really surprises me that we would cut hair.
At all.
In a tahara, that I mean, I've read places where that's one of the things that you do as a grooming process is cutting hair, and that just feels wrong to me.
Oh. Yeah, it makes you take pause.
Yeah.
I mean, also when you think about like how the tradition for young children not to have their hair cut for several years, it really does add some emphasis there as well. So we have just a little more time. I'm just going to see if I can get this other piece in, and which is really more about the body itself. Whoops, come back. So I can see that I'm not going to finish everything that I intended, but we've got a couple more meetings, and with God's help, we'll get to finish it. But so that's the part of the hair. And then he goes on to talk about Bechinat HaNetzach. So the aspect of the forehead, Romezet LeNetzach Elyon, hints at the heavenly forehead. So now we are talking about Shior Kama, the divine structure. It's kind of as it is above, so it is below. Shehi pokedet harshaim kemikale avonatam lemala, because she remembers the evildoers when their inequities are revealed on high. The mitzcha yirtza gevura itkakef bedine ve'it pashet. And so the forehead, it like really holds within it the gevura in it, and it goes there, and it needs a tikkun and a sweetening, a way to bless it, and like there's a practice many people do of like putting like cream on the head, to kind of relax the forehead, and so there's an aspect of that. Bechinat ha'einayim tarmuz hasagat hakol ha'elyonim v'tachtonim. So the aspect of the eyes, it hints at understanding or to grasping everything on high and on low, heaven and earth. Bechinat gvinei ha'einayim hu makom shemisham ba'a hashkacha l'chol ba'alei hashkacha. So this, through the pupils of the eye, this is the place from which the apprehension comes to anything that really has consciousness, that can apprehend. And it draws forth, this is like this verse that I think is really interesting, Minahar dinapik, the nagid lirchutz koach hagvura. Okay, we'll stop right there. And it draws forth from the Nahar Napik in Zohar is really the first river that issues out of Eden. So it's like the source of all, the highest source, and the eye and the pupil of the eye. When you look in somebody's eye, you can really see, that's that source of light, that connection to source on high. It's right there, and it's really, it's available there. Okay, we have 5 more minutes, so let's try to move on through this a little bit. But not Minahar Napik, it's really, the Zohar uses that term a lot, and it's like the essential flow. Okay, and we're told to lerchat koach hagvura shehi hametzach b'chalav elyon, and we're told to wash the power of gvura, which is on the forehead, with chalav elyon. So chalav elyon, actually, I taught this or parts of this at one of the conferences, and you know how cream rises to the top when you have milk and the cream rises? So I'm thinking that chalav elyon is really the cream rising to the top that's used to wash the gvura off of the forehead. And this is also referenced in the Shir HaShirim, Song of Songs, Rehitzah b'chalab. You wash it with chalab. You wash it with milk. B'chinat ha'chotem remez l'dinim shenit aru ha'mitbasmin ba'ashan hamizbeach. And so the aspect of the chotem is like the nasal passage, the mouth, the ear, like ozon chotem peh is what they talk about. Ear, ozon is ears, chotem is like the breathing apparatus, and peh is mouth. So it hints to the judgments that were aroused by means of the fluttering smoke from the altar. So it's like the smoke that they sent up in the mizbeach, in the altar in the temple, had this very potent aspect. And so like there's fluttering, it could see things. It's it's a very potent type of incense. B'chinat ha'oznaim, I'll do a couple more here and then I want to sing before we go. So we will do that. And we'll just pick up where we left off next time. So the aspect of the ears, ha'ozen, hu kisharatzon ninsa b'ha'or elyon me'orer or abba ve'ima b'chinat ha'mochin. So this is the reason I have the tree of life stuff up here. This is the aspect of the ears that when the desire is present, and they're talking about the divine desire, and the supernal light arouses Abba ve'ima, which are euphemisms in Lurianic Kabbalah for Chochmah is Abba, Ima is Bina. So these two are aroused and they unite together. And what happens when the desire is there, you get an aspect of consciousness in there. And so when that ozen, that ear is opened, the az bitkabelet tfilatan shel Yisrael. And that is when the prayers of Yisrael, the God wrestling people, are received. Ubehit arutazeh mitorim balei knafayim hanotlim hakolot hanikra Oznei Hashem. And by means of this Abba and Ima coming together, being aroused and with the desire of the supernal of Ketcher, then the angels, Ba'alei Knafayim, are present, and they receive the voices, the kolot of the prayers. We're talking about the prayers happening here that are called Oznei Hashem, the ears of God. Okay, so we're going to stop here, and I'm going to invite you to join me in a bit more in our angel invocation to close off our time together. And we got through a lot of it, but there's more. Baruch Hashem, there's what to do with this. So I'm going to stop sharing. I'm going to go back to close your eyes because I'm going to scroll back. Here, let's do this. And if you have to go, because I think we're really close to the time, I'll see you next week. And if you can hang out and sing, please do.
Let's do.
Come back. Okay. No. Ki malacha v'yetza ve'elach lishmarcha b'chol drachecha. 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 Angels are appointed to care and watch over you wherever you are. Amen.
Amen. Shar kochech.
Did you see did I share a screen there? I didn't share it, huh?
It's okay, we got it.
Okay.
You brought the angels.
All right, it's just a few words.
You brought them down. Brought us up.
God bless.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank
Thanks.
you
Good to
so
see
much.
everybody.
Thank you,
much,
Holy
so
Sister
rich.
Rebbe.
So rich. Rabbi Tamima, I'd love if you'd stay on for a second. I have a very
Yeah,
specific
let's give you a bracha.
and fascinating question to ask you, if that's okay.
Sure, I'm here.
Is that
right.
a private one, or you're gonna let us listen in?
You know, it's very specific. Evie will appreciate it. It's about a situation that we're in right now with a Met who who is already deceased 9 days ago and is stuck in a cooler because they can't find the doctor to sign the death certificate. And I want to ask you a very kind of deep and kind of soulful kabbalistic question about it, of how we're handling it. Evie and I know all about this. And so, you know, I wanted to tap into your expertise. I mean, other people can listen, but that's the territory of the question. So do you have a moment for that?
Sure, I'm here. Yeah, that's
Actually,
9 days. Oh.
this could happen to anyone nowadays.
This can happen because of the fact that there's so many deaths, the coroners are backed up. And so they're waiting. He was at the hospital from Tuesday through Saturday, and they're like cooler. And he finally got transported, and he's now at a funeral home, just in the cooler. And so I've been tuning in and working. I did a lot of shmira for the first 3 days until we found out the situation and the distress. There was distress, obviously. And so I can share with you my solution, which was working up until Tuesday night, when I really heard the distress of the soul. And I've been kind of weepy and vulnerable ever since. My solution was to create an altar for him, a very specific altar, specific to who. I can even show you, it's in the other room, specific, or I can actually screen share it. I think I'll do that because I did a picture for our chevra. So what we ended up doing, like Evie and myself and Tirza have consulted on this. Hold on, let me just show you the very specific altar.
One of our friends said it reminds them of the, the Day of the Dead altars. Yeah, which makes you think how beautiful an idea it is that maybe we should be doing it more often.
So what I did is I put a picture of him. I put his name. He's got 4 cats, so I put a kitty, kitty, kitty. I put a picture of Reb Zalman because I've prayed for him to assist in this. I've actually kind of did that. He was a potter, so I did a very beautiful piece of pottery. I put down, these are shards from pottery shards from Israel, chocolate, psalms. These are my corn maidens.
Like chocolate.
Yeah, these are like corn maidens who are, they're like a feminine, like Adonai Sevaot. I kept them there. And then here, this is water with dead sea salts in them. And I placed them with copper, on top of copper, because copper is an energetic carrier. And
because it's conductive, right?
Exactly.
You mean it's metal?
Yeah. Yeah. And copper, I mean, nachoshet. I mean, come on. Like, what I was the priest's laver, right? And so I wanted copper.
Okay, got it.
And also, in indigenous practices, copper is always used in ceremonial for carrying that conductive energy. So that's kind of, so I've been tending this. It's actually a part of my life now. I usually use my room for spiritual direction, but I can't go in there right now, except for to be in connection with him.
Because
he's
there.
Yeah. And so I feel like this was my answer. And then we sent the picture out to our entire Chevra Kadisha, so they could also meditate upon that as we're holding him. Hopefully he's going to be cremated. What are you going to do?